To today's meeting of City Council. We'd like to acknowledge that we are gathering here today on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and before them the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Huron, and Wendat. We also acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and other global Indigenous people that now call Brampton their home. We are honored to live, work, and enjoy this land. Please all rise for the singing of our national anthem, to be followed by a moment of personal reflection. Thank you. Okay, welcome to our regular council meeting of April 24th, 2019. All members of council are present today. Except for Councillor Singh, who's actually on his honeymoon. We wish him well and congratulate him again on his marriage. Approval of the agenda. Members of council, there are a few agenda changes identified in the package in front of you. I'll ask the city clerk to review the changes for today's agenda since its publication last Thursday.
Mayor Brown, members of council, staff, and members in the audience watching or attending, these are the changes for today's agenda. Item 10.2, the minutes of the Committee of Council meeting of last Wednesday, April 17th. Those minutes are before council this morning. The recommendations were distributed with the agenda last week. Item 18.1, a briefing report from the Office of the Chief Administrative Officer regarding government relations matters, specifically the Region Appeal Council agenda this coming Thursday and various provincial and federal matters. That was distributed electronically to members yesterday and is on your desk this morning. In regard to item 5.1, an announcement regarding the Under-19 Canadian National Wrestling Championship, Olympian Ashok Kumar, head coach of Akara of Champions Wrestling Club, will also be making this announcement along with the guest of honor, Arjun Singh Desi. Those are the changes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, are there any other additions or changes or deletions to the agenda? I know I have, Councillor Dillon.
Mr. Mayor, and possibly through you to the clerk even, I just wanted to amend the announcement. So we were going to recognize one of the gold medal, local Brampton youth, the gold medal winners, but wanted to, there was other medalists that we want to acknowledge today as well. So I don't know if we need to add extra time now or later, or...
For you, Mr. Mayor, if the will of council, if council wants to add the additional recipients as part of the same announcement and extend the time, that's the will of council.
Okay, I think it's the will of council.
Sorry, yes, do we need to move that, or?
So moved by Councillor Dillon. All those in favor? Okay, I also have two motions to add. The first is on a motion in regards to freedom of religion and expression, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Medeiros, based on the motion that recently passed in the City of Toronto. 16.3. Do I have the will of council to add this to the agenda?
Sorry, what is it?
Motion by myself and Council Medeiros in regards to freedom of religion and expression. All those in favor to adding to the agenda? Motion carries. And I've got one other, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Fertini, about the 10-year anniversary of the Muli Valkal in Sri Lanka. If I have council's willingness to add that to the agenda, all those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, 16.4. Okay, so I have a motion, actually, we have the motions here. I have a motion by Councillor Bowman, and seconded by Councillor Willens, that the agenda for the regular council meeting of April 24th be approved as published and circulated and amended. All those in favor? Motion carries. Do any members have a declaration of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act for any matter to be considered in today's agenda? Seeing none, the clerk will so note for the meeting minutes. We are now ready to move to the next item of public business on today's council agenda, item 3, minutes. We have the following council minutes before us today. Minutes of City Council regular meeting April 10th, 2019. I have a motion moved by Councillor Willen, seconded by Councillor Bowman, to approve the minutes as printed and circulated. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 4, consent agenda. The items listed with an asterisk on the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial. The consent motion is to adopt this matter on today's agenda without the need for a separate discussion on the item unless a member requests a separate discussion. Does any member wish to add an item or remove an item from the consent motion on the agenda? Seeing none, I have a motion from Councillor Willen, seconded by Councillor Bowman, to approve the consent motion. All those in favor? Motion carries. Our next item is item 5.1, an announcement regarding the U19 Canadian National Wrestling Championship held at the University of New Brunswick on Friday, April 5th, 2019. We have Arjun Singh Desi from the Akara of Champions Club, Brampton resident gold medalist of the Under-19 Canadian National Wrestling Championship in weight category, is here today for this announcement. Welcome, Arjun. And I think Councillor Dillon will want to speak to this. Speak to it first? Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, I just want to, it's a very big honor for me to sponsor this announcement today. We have a history of excellent athletes ranging from a wide different sports in Brampton, and today it's an honor for me to have sponsored these young wrestlers from Brampton who won medals at the Canadian Wrestling Championships. And so we have Ikjot Randhawa, who won the gold medal at the Junior Canadian National Wrestling Championships at the 97 kilogram class. We have Gurinder Dosanjh, who won the bronze medal at the Under-17 Canadian Wrestling Championships. Balkaran Mia, who won the gold at the Under-19 Canadian Wrestling Championships at 65 kilograms. And we have Arjun Singh Desi, who won the gold medal at the Under-19 Canadian Wrestling Championships for the 92 kilogram. And they're here with their coach. He's an Olympian, Mr. Ashok Kumar, of the Akara of Champion Wrestling Club. And so Ikjot had won in Saskatoon at the Junior Championship, and the rest of our young athletes won at April 5th in Fredericton at the Canadian Wrestling Championship in Fredericton, New Brunswick. And so we welcome you here today. And Coach, if you'd like to come up to the podium.
Thank you to invite us today. Thank you for all concern, Mr. Mayor. And we are really proud for this Brampton city and their kids. I'm coaching them for last 10 years. continuously. So now we have a really very good performance. This year we won 4 gold international, 1 silver, 1 bronze. So these are the athletes going next month for the international representing Canada. I'm the one. And this is my another chance to represent Canada as a coach with the team. So I really appreciate when they're going. So I really request or appeal to their dream can come true if we assist them a little bit from the city side to some scholarships, some maybe when they're going to represent Canada, so we can make a mark, hey, this thing, you belong to city supporting you this way. So I'm just requesting that too. So you guys decided, again, thank you. And Arjun Desi is a very upcoming wrestler. Ekjot is soon they're going to be in an Olympic team. I assure you, because this is our 6th wrestling team going international. But every time the parents have taken all the burden, I want to request like city also provide some help for them. Thank you once again.
Okay, well, I know we got some certificates to acknowledge the contributions of these local athletic stars. And I'm going to ask Councillor Dillon to join me in presenting these certificates. We have certificates for Arjun Singh Desai, Gurjinder Dosanjh, Ikojut Randhawa, Ashok Kumar, and Balkaram Mia. On the background. Come right here in the middle. Well, thank you, Councillor Dillon, for acknowledging these contributions and suggesting we have this appropriate recognition of these Brampton athletes. I would note you should be aware we have a community grants program where we help community organizations, and you can always speak to the office downstairs about that process and how it works. But there are many sporting organizations in the community that organize significant events and are and the city of Brampton is part of it. It's a very structured process, but we're proud to support many organizations in the city, and they can point you in the right direction. I see one of their staff members here in the gallery, and she can pass on her card to you. Oh, and Councillor Paleshi says next time he wants to see the bling, he wants to see the medals. Yeah, look at that. There you go. Look at that. Looks pretty good. Councillor Paleshi makes the wish, and there you have it. Yeah. And don't worry, we've told Councillor Pleshy not to bite it. Okay, thank you again. Our next item is item 5.2. We now have 3 proclamations to read today. The first proclamation is regards to parental alienation. They're having their flag raising on April 25th. Parental alienation is often found in high conflict separations, divorces, and custody disputes, and takes advantage of dependency and responsibility of a child. Parental alienation deprives children of their rights to love and be loved by both parents and is considered a form of child abuse. Behavior such as speaking negatively about a parent to or in front of a child can destroy a bond between a loving parent and a child. Medical professionals agree that the problem of parental alienation exists and can cause mental and emotional harm to the child. This year is the 9th annual Bubbles Love Day, and organizers are asking everyone to take 10 minutes of their day at noon on April 25th anywhere in the world to blow soap bubbles representing love. To support this day, please wear royal blue. We thank this Parental Alienation Awareness organization for their flag raising and their efforts. I don't see the representative from this group. Okay, there. Okay, perfect. Well, come to the front, and I'd be honored to present this to you. Oh, and would you like to say anything?
This is an honor to be here too. I'm also suffering from parental alienation, and I understand what it's like to live without your child when you are a loving parent. I've also seen where sadly this affects men more than women, and it had to happen to me to understand what they have been going through. It is like a tornado. It's just that you don't know that it's hitting you. And that's the problem, lack of awareness. Because when I ask many people if they know what parental alienation is, the answer is always no. And when I give them an example of it, then they become aware of it. And one example is, say for instance, you're separated and the wife, say for instance, is mad that you asked for a divorce. And like, how can you leave me? And they use a child as a weapon to hurt the father. And it goes to show that that parent actually hates the father more than they love their own child. And that's what I want to end, where parents come together and put the child first instead of their anger. And as we have seen in many cases where parents will go as far as killing the child to hurt the ex. And we have to come up with some solution to counsel these parents after divorce, because after divorce, you're angry, and we have to do something to protect the children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to present this proclamation, and just to say thank you again. I know you've thrown your heart into raising awareness, and the flag raising is this Thursday. So many of us will be at Regional Council, but for those not at Regional Council, make sure that you come by. And Councillor Williams wanted to say a word as well.
Chef Vanessa, thank you for coming here today and bringing awareness to parental alienation. In my field and when I work, teaching parents how to co-parent is a huge struggle, and parents who are, like you said, angry, upset, and mad at each other, trying to parent together it's very difficult. But you're bringing such awareness to this issue, because we've seen how families have been torn apart and how people's lives have been completely destroyed when people take their anger to the worst level. So tomorrow is the flag raising, and we'll be there. And I just want to thank you for doing this, because you're very strong. To go through this and to bring awareness takes a lot of strength. So keep going.
We're going to present this proclamation, and I'm going to ask Councillor Williams to join me. I know you've got some history in this cause as well. Yeah. Gujarat Day celebrates the culture of Gujarat. Friends of Gujarat is a non-profit initiative of Canadian Gujaratis working to connect Gujaratis to the mainstream and promote arts and culture in Gujarat. Gujarat is a state in Western India, sometimes referred to as the jewel of Western India, and there are over 300,000 Gujaratis in Canada, over 40,000 residing in Brampton. A flag-raising ceremony on the occasion of Gujarat Day will be showcasing the traditional folk dance and a few speeches by eminent Gujaratis. This activity will create a voice of Gujaratis in Brampton and help promote the rich arts and culture of Gujarat. I am Mayor Patrick Brown. On behalf of the Brampton City Council, do hereby proclaim May 1st, 2019 as Celebration of Gujarat Day in the city of Brampton. Before I call up Pathik Shula to introduce everyone here today, I just want to note thank you to Councillor Medeiros, who has played a leadership role in having the reception and the flag raising in previous years. I know we're going to have a Gujarat Day at Brampton City Hall next Wednesday. I'm actually going to be at the Big City Mayors Conference in Vancouver, but I know we're going to have a great turnout of City Council wanting to celebrate. And this is particularly personal for me. I've been to Gujarat 9 times, and I feel very comfortable, whether it's in Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad, Baroda, or Surat. I feel very comfortable in the incredible sense of family you have in Gujarat. And we're very proud to have this community in Brampton. And if you look at the Garbas, I think the more people learn about the beautiful Gujarati culture, the more they fall in love with it. And if it wasn't for our weather, I'm sure we could have some pretty good kite festivals too. If anyone's seen a Gujarat kite festival in January during their national day, it's pretty special. So Pathik, why don't you come up, introduce the different organizations we have here today, and then we'll present this proclamation. And anyone from City Council that would like to join me in the presentation is welcome to.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Patrick Brown, and the City Council members and the staff of City of Brampton. It's indeed a great pleasure, and thank you all for inviting us for this great event. I'm pleased to invite Akhil Shah, who is a promoter and the chair of Friends of Gujarat, who started this moment to have a flag raising, and 2 years back we did it first time in the City Hall. So thank you again to the City Hall, Akhil Shah. Along with me, I have Don Patel, who is the partner organization, Gujarati Group, Gujarati Professional Network. I have Hitesh Mehta, who is a committee member for Friends of Gujarat, Hemish Desai, who is a committee member for Friends of Gujarat, and Seema Shah, who is a community member and helping us to organize the event of 28th May and 1st of May. At this juncture, I would also, on behalf of Akhil, invite all the council members and the staff to join us on 28th of May, 4 p.m. at Chinkuji School, where we are going to have a big celebration, and you would love Gujarati food and enjoy Gujarati music. So please join us on 28th of April, 4 p.m. at Chinkuji School, and then we'll have the celebration. Thank you, sir.
One more too.
Oh, sorry, I forgot the backbone of Gujarati community, Kamlesh Shah, who has been actively involved with, and Uday Chaudhary, who is part of Gujarati Group of Brampton.
Well, we're going to come and present this
And
proclamation.
I have a pleasure that my dad is visiting from India, and I have a pleasure to introduce him, Angira Shukla.
Okay. Is he from Gujarat?
Yeah, he's.
Okay. Okay, while we're waiting for everyone to come back, we have to wait? Okay. Do we have one more person? We have six. I don't think we have a representative from the Ontario nurses here today, do we? No? Okay. Well, it's actually Nurses Week coming up, and so we have a proclamation for Nurses Week. The health and well-being of people is the biggest priority for our community, and the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario, RNAO, is the professional association representing registered nurses, nurse practitioners, and nursing students in Ontario. Since 1925, RNAO has advocated for healthy public policy, promoted excellence in nursing practice, increased nurses' contributions to shaping the healthcare system, and influenced decisions that affect nurses and the public they serve. And members of the national nursing community are recognized for their hard work and dedication of nurses through various forms and activities throughout May 6th to May 12th. Nursing Week acknowledges and promotes the contributions that nurses make to the health of our residents and well-being of our community every day. So we proclaim May 6th to May 12th as Nurses Week in the city of Brampton. And I know there is at every hospital and wellness clinic and medical clinic in the city, there are activities to recognize nurses during Nurses Week. I'll certainly be going to pay my respects and thanks to nurses that are the backbone of our healthcare system. And so we'll let council know of opportunities to have recognition for our community's nurses, and we'll make sure this gets to them. Okay, moving on. 8.1. This item was considered as part of the consent motion. At 10, we are now at item 10, committee reports or minutes. We have 2 committee reports in the form of minutes on today's agenda. Under council's meeting procedures, the committee or section chair introduces the committee report or minutes and summarizes the matters considered and now brought forward to council today for ratification. Councillor Medeiros, you chaired the Planning and Development Committee, which met on April 8th. The committee recommendations were approved by council on April 10th, and the full minutes are here today for receipt only.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, you have before you the minutes of Planning and Development. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I have a motion from Councillor Medeiros, seconded by Councillor Fortini. All those in favor? Motion carries. Committee of Council met on April 17th. The committee minutes are here for council approval. I will now pass the chair to the respective section chairs in the order of consideration during the committee meeting to lead council in the consideration of committee recommendations. Councillor Dillon chaired the Economic and Development and Culture section. Councillor Singh chaired the Corporate Services section. Councillor Vicente chaired the Public Works and Engineering section. Councillor Santos chaired the Community Services section. Council will then consider a motion to approve the recommendations in its entirety after all section chairs have concluded their summaries and any resulting council questions or debate has finished. So starting off with Councillor Dillon. Do anyone have questions for Councillor Dillon, who chaired Economic and Development and Culture? Seeing none. Any questions for Councillor Singh? Any questions for Councillor Vicente? Any questions for Councillor Santos? Oh, Councillor Patini.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I missed it. There was on 10.2.2, there was a delegation requesting that the monument of Chikuzi Park, Cenotaph, there was a motion, I think, that was supposed to be presented, and I think Peter Fay was putting it on the board. And we did approve it in the minutes. The city council was going to approve a motion today for them. So it's on the board, so yes, so we're requesting a vote on that. No, you don't need to be there. So, all in favor of it?
So thank you, Councillor Patini. Councillor Williams requested in regards to Chikuzi Park Monument is
Yeah.
the Cenotaph. We
The
heard the
Cenotaph.
presentation last week. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I have a motion from Councillor Santos, seconded by Councillor Vicente, to approve the committee minutes. All those in favor? Motion carries. We have 12.1. This item was considered as part of the consent motion. Our next item is 16.1, the referred matters list. This list is published quarterly on a meeting agenda, and a copy is linked with each agenda to include the current listing of matters referred to city staff for further review or report back to council or committee. Do any members have questions on the referred matters list? Seeing none, I have the motion here for the. Oh, there's no motion. Do I need a motion? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, our next item, 16.2. I added this discussion item to report on some recent meetings that members of council had with Rogers Communications, headquartered in Brampton. I think those of us that went to Rogers were blown away by the size, the scope, and the ambition of Rogers locally. And it prompted a discussion on the next generation mobile networks and possible opportunities to showcase this technology in our city. Now, I'd say this would not be limited to Rogers and any of the telecoms. I think all of them are interested in the advances in terms of smart cities. We have a motion to ask staff to investigate possible opportunities to introduce 5G networks in our city to showcase this new technology. I have a motion that I drafted along with Councillor Santos that speaks to some of the ideas that were suggested of how we could take a leadership role on 5G technology. We talked to Denise from our ECDEV team, and I know she's had her input too, but we'll put the motion on the screen to have everyone, they can see it, and I'm going to ask Councillor Santos, who's particularly passionate about this, to speak to it as well.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So we are, as a city, one of the front runners when it comes to fiber optics, when it comes to being a smart city. We've been awarded with Smart City Awards. When it comes to leading and trailblazing on cybersecurity. And so moving forward to set ourselves up, continuing on those leads as a smart city, this is just a natural fit. And when we were touring Rogers and they had a list of those recommendations, Councillor Vicente, the mayor, and I, we were talking on the side saying, you know what, we should bring this forward next week and just continue trailblazing through. And so we're super excited and look forward to the report coming back from staff on how we can become a 5G enabled city.
Thank you, Councillor Santos, and it's about that first mover advantage too. This technology is coming; it will change dramatically IT infrastructure, and there is an advantage to Brampton for being on the forefront. And so I think this could be really exciting. We're also part of the Super Innovation Corridor, and we hosted the Smart City conference in Brampton. And so you look at the jobs of tomorrow, the opportunities that can exist. We certainly want to get ahead of this, and so thank you, Councillor Santos, for your words. Seeing no other speakers, all those in favor? Motion carries.
Is there any other, therefore be it resolved, is it just the one?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, so just to take the vote again to make sure. I think Councillor Paletti had a question there. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay. Now we move on to the added items. Do you have a copy of this to put on the freedom of religion? We can put this one on the screen and I'll speak to it. This would be 16.3. The City of Toronto passed a motion recently to the same effect. One of the beautiful things about Brampton is that we are a mosaic of faiths and cultures. I would note this motion is put forward by myself, seconded by Councillor Medeiros. We are a mosaic of faiths and cultures, and when there was a law being contemplated in Quebec that said you can't go into a public place with a turban or a cross or any religious affiliation, I think many Canadians felt offended by that. It's certainly not the nature of the pluralistic, multicultural society that we love in Brampton. And so to join in the City of Toronto in saying that we believe in freedom of religion and expression, I would say is a gesture to the mosaic of faith communities that we have in Brampton, that we stand by you proudly. Any other comments on this? Councillor Dillon.
Sorry, this is moved by you and seconded by
Councillor Medeiros.
Councilor Medeiros, and I just want to thank you for putting this forward. I've been following what's been going on in Quebec, and also I'm sure everybody has also read or heard about Jagmeet Singh's new autobiography, where he speaks about issues related to what's going on in Quebec. I grew up in Windsor. Much of my childhood was there, and I faced a lot of discrimination there. And one of the things I'm thankful for every day is that we live in Brampton, one of the most diverse cities in the world, and that we have so many opportunities here, and we live in a province that accepts us for who we are. And so I'm supportive of this. I'm glad that you brought this forward, and I think this is going to send a very strong message to Quebec and anybody else or any other type of group that feels the way they do in Quebec in terms of wearing religious items. So I just want to thank you for your leadership on this, and I want to thank Councilor Medeiros as well.
Okay, and I would note that even in Quebec, if you look at Montreal City Council, that there is a growing widespread opposition to any curtailment of the freedom of religion. And so, having said that, see no other comments. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, the next item is in regards to the original motion put on the screen. The one with all the whereases. Yeah. So, and I will speak to this. In 2009, I think many of us know, because we have a large Tamil community in Brampton, there was a genocide in Sri Lanka that was one of the most horrific of modern times. I've got a lot of history with this, because as an MP at that time, I had a constituent who told me about what was happening. I tried to go to Sri Lanka, but my visa was denied. I never thought that a parliamentarian's visa was denied. I wanted to visit an IDP camp, which was for displaced people. It became apparent in the years after, with the Channel 4 documentary, that some of the greatest war crimes that we've seen were committed during that time, and that's why parliamentarians weren't being allowed to come and visit. I know a colleague of mine in Parliament, Bob Ray, also had his visa rejected. Initially, people didn't know what was happening. More recently, the UN has taken an active role in exposing this. The Commonwealth in Sri Lanka, the government of Canada actually boycotted when they had their Commonwealth a number of years ago. And in honor of the Battle of Muli Valkal, which was one of the most horrific aspects of the Tamil genocide, the Canadian Tamil Congress, the National Tamil Canadian Congress, the Transitional Elam Government, the TETG, have asked that municipalities province and provincial and federal parliaments pass a motion commemorating this 10-year anniversary to say, we don't forget what happened. You need to learn from history. This was the motion drafted by a Brampton resident, many of you know from the NTC Mohan. I think it's only fair that the city of Brampton recognize and stand shoulder to shoulder with the Tamil community on this solemn 10-year anniversary of such a devastating loss of life. Councilor Fortini, would you like to speak to this as well?
We have some residents here, I think they're still downstairs, signing some papers for, their grant and, you know, especially what happened on this Easter Sunday, you know, what the Tamil community has to face. So, I'm very supportive and thank you for you, yourself as a leader and, the residents, to bring this forward.
Okay, see no other conversation. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, do we have any other added items? No. Our next item is government relations matters. Materials have been distributed electronically to council yesterday by the CO's office and at the start of today's meeting by the clerk's office. Lowell Ruben Vaughn, office of the CO, is here to respond to any questions from council. Do any members have any questions regarding the information provided? No questions for Lowell? Lowell, you're off the hook this week. So I have a motion from Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Williams, that the briefing report from the office of the CEO to the council meeting government relations matters be received. Motion, all those in favor? Motion carries. Public question period. Now we can deal with item 19, public question period. This is where we invite members of the public to come forward to the podium and ask any questions about any decision made by council at today's meeting. There is a 15-minute limit to all questions and answers. Are there any questions from the public about a decision made by council at today's meeting? If so, please come forward, state your name for the meeting record and your question succinctly related to one of council's decisions made at today's meeting. I see no public questions today. So we'll move on to bylaws. We are now at the portion of the meeting dealing with the adoption of city bylaws to give effect to council decisions made at this meeting and previous meetings. I have a motion by Councillor Willens and Councillor Bowman to approve the bylaws. All those in favor? Motion carries. Our next item of business is item 21, closed session business. I have a motion from Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Willens, to move into closed session to deal with the following. With a question from Councillor Palashi. Councillor Palashi.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to move, unless there's additional information that needs to be relayed to the members of council, I'm happy to move the closed session items.
Is that fair?
We can acknowledge it.
Yeah. Okay, we can acknowledge it in public? Okay. Is that the will of council? Okay, seeing Councillor Williams, do you have a question too? No? Okay. Do we need a motion to acknowledge it? Do we have a motion from Councillor Pleshy, seconded by Councillor Williams, to acknowledge the closed session minutes? All those in favor? Motion carried. And I know our next item is adjournment, confirming bylaw. Here is the motion for confirming bylaw. I have a motion by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Willens, that the following bylaw before council at its regular meeting of April 24th, 2019 be given the required number of readings, taken as read and signed by the mayor and the city clerk, and the corporate seal affixed. All those in favor? Motion carries. I would note before we adjourn the meeting, I just wanted to, I see David Rajaratnam from the Brampton Tamil Seniors Association. While you're out of the room, council adopted the resolution in regards to the 10-year anniversary of Muli Valcal. And so we'll provide you a copy of that resolution, and I know you wanted to be there for that, but the good news is everyone agreed, so it passed. So moving on, our next item of business is the adjournment, moved by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Williams. The council do now adjourn them to meet again for our regular meeting of council on Wednesday, May 8th at 9:30 a.m. or at the call of the mayor. All those in favor? Motion carries.